Live from San Francisco.
And streaming now on Facebook Live.
It's Robett Live with how to turn your passion into profit.
On TodayFM.
All I do is win, no matter what.
All we do is win. I love it. Why do we play this track? It's very simple. We want to profile around Kiwis that are doing good things. Hands go up. And they stay there for the tall poppy profile. Profiling Kiwi companies doing good things. And I'm joined by Mr. Joe Carter from the Clad Pantry. What's up, brother? How's your Saturday?
Hey, Robett. I'm pretty good, my man. How are you?
I am rolling, my friend. So you have the only cast iron cookware made in Aotearoa, New Zealand, with a 3-generation guarantee, and I saw a little trademark on top of that, so we can talk about some trademarks in a bit. And you're excited to talk about sustainability, profitability, handcrafted things, and more. So, what is the Ironclad? How did this happen? What is it? And it sounds aggressive and it sounds extremely heavy. Go on.
Yeah, cast iron skillets are notoriously heavy, but that's because they last so long. We started just over 2 years ago. All three of us co-founders have been working in advertising, marketing, creative industry for many years and decided to venture into making a product. And essentially it needed to pass the 6-year-old test. You know, would it be good for them now? And would it be good for them in generations to come? And so Kate, my co-founder, had a look in her cupboards, saw all of these old pots and pans and thought, well, let's make one of them. And we realized no one else was making them in New Zealand. And after, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months of product development and research and sleepless nights and multiple phone calls to multiple foundries, we found a partner in Avondale in Auckland that could help us make them. And at the start of the pandemic, we launched.
So launching a business in the pandemic, how was that experience? Manufacturing, supply chain, making talk me through that process, because it's a very brave time to be starting companies. Well done, you.
So it was a tough time for everyone personally. For the business, we discovered that people had a little bit of extra disposable income because they weren't traveling, they weren't doing all the things that they normally do, and there was this kind of return and real resurgence of supporting small, locally made businesses. From a business perspective, the beauty of making things in your backyard is you have complete control over the supply chain, and you're not relying on other companies for imports and exports and multiple parts and things. So we actually had access to the foundry, more access to the foundry that we were working with than we would have done if we didn't launch in the pandemic, because a lot of their other work slowed down. So it was a healthy time for us to launch, and I think we did one Facebook post in the New Zealand Made Products Facebook group that started at a similar time, and 130 pans were sold overnight, and we got some traction and momentum from there.
So maybe as well, if everyone was locked up at home, maybe they've got time to do some cooking, and then when they're looking through and it's Aotearoa's only cast iron cookware, it probably did well too. Talk me through the model. Is it B2B, B2C, direct to consumer, online? Like, talk me through how you're currently selling it. What's, I guess, some of the tech back end, and how you're kind of dealing with that whole thing in terms of sales and distribution? Yeah,
so obviously making things in New Zealand isn't cheap. So we wanted to pass as much of the cost savings on by not working with too many retailers and having your margin squeezed through direct-to-consumer channels. So we just have a Shopify backend in New Zealand and now in Australia as well. And we're predominantly direct-to-consumer. But that said, we've had a number of different retail partners and loyalty partners get in touch with us who kind of align with our values around sustainability and craft and family. And so we've got a selection of 25 plus retailers in New Zealand, and then working with airpoints and flybys and all the loyalty programs here. And then we've just launched in Australia a couple of weeks ago with Australian made cast iron cookware, again that kind of local production model, and we're just onboarding a few retailers now as well as direct to consumer.
How heavy are these things? Like, how big, how heavy? I've seen some photos, they look aggressive. Looks like they cook some solid bacon very well. Like, how heavy are these things?
So the legacy pan, which is the 28 centimeter model, is 2.7 kg. Kate's mum has got arthritis in her wrist, so we designed a front grip so that you could lift it up with two hands. It kind of changes your style of cooking as well. You're not like lifting it up and moving it around all the time. You're just leaving it on the hob or in the oven or on the barbecue and letting it do its thing. And then we have a smaller Lil Legacy, which is 20 centimeters. And a couple of weeks ago, we launched the only Dutch oven made in New Zealand, which is a 4.5 litre pot with a lid, and you flip it over. It's a bread oven. You can use a lid as a separate skillet, etc. So that's been about 18 months in the works. But that's the big boy. That's about 3.7 kg. So
these things sound like
anywhere.
weapons. Like thieves aren't stealing these things, man. It's awesome. So if people want to check out, where can they? What's the website? Where can they go to? Where can they buy it? Where can they see the danger of these flipping 12 kg bacon cooking machines? I love it. I'm into it.
So in New Zealand, just ironcladpan.com, and then in Australia, ironcladpan.com.au.
Okay, there you go, ironcladpan.com. Hey, really appreciate your time. Big ups for you. Brave launching through a pandemic. Awesome to see the split between the B2B and B2C side, and great to see the community backing more Kiwi businesses. So good on you, man. Well done, Joe.
Thanks for having us on, Robett. Appreciate it.
Of course, game on. All right, that was Joe Carter, the CEO, founder, and man behind, or partner of the Ironclad Pan company, Panco. Man, dude, can you imagine like a 3 kg? So I'm into it. I want to get one. All right, send me one, Joe. No pressure. That can be sponsored, by the way. You can send it to me. I'll cook some bacon. Let's see what happens. Coming up after the break, we have Mr. Paul Conway, the new Chief Economist for the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, and Bruce Pilbrow, the CEO of Spirit of Adventure. This is Robett Live, episode 309 on Today FM.